Right, we're going to finish on something not quite so low-key. A film which sees Disney definitely not try to recapture some of that Pirates of the Caribbean success. No siree, Bob.
Yes, indeed. This is Jungle Cruise, which, as you mentioned, is a film based on a theme park ride. Well, we've been here before, of course, with Pirates of the Caribbean, which was given the side eye before release, but turned out to be an enjoyable romp. Now, admittedly, a slew of increasingly poor sequels may have dimmed that memory, but at any rate, it does earn Jungle Cruise a fair hearing, at least. So, Emily Blunt's no-nonsense Dr. Lily Houghton is on the search for a legendary, surely mythical artefact called the Tears of the Moon, a veritable tree of life, much to the amusement of the stuffy old Royal Society. Well, they're mostly being amused at this point by her foppish, dandy brother sidekick, Jack Whitehall's McGregor Houghton, as they're not going to listen to a woman speak, perish the thought. Also on the trail is Jesse Plemons' entirely accurately accented Prince Joachim seeking the healing powers of the tree for Germany's war effort, leading to some tussles over an arrowhead artefact that Lily believes to be the key to finding the tree. So then, off to Brazil, where they hire sketchy steamboat captain Rock the Dwayne Johnson's Frank Wolf to journey down the Amazon in his sketchy steamboat with the Germans in hot submarine pursuit, whereupon a variety of perils, both natural and supernatural, must be navigated until they reach the end of the ride. Film, all the while exchanging quips and barbs, and occasionally humiliating Jack Whitehall, but not often enough for my liking. A touch dismissive, but a blow-by-blow recap of this film is not going to do anyone a lot of good, save perhaps to mention also the cursed ghost conquistadors released from their captivity by the Germans to help find the Tears of the Moon, which will also tie into Frank's mysterious past. Ooh, mysterious. It is, of course, nonsense, but it's such likeable nonsense that not even Jack Whitehall can ruin it. Johnson carries a lot of it, this being one of the better vehicles for his charisma and awful, awful puns, and he bounces well off Blunt, Whitehall, and even Paul Giamatti. Jesus, him again. Give someone else a chance, Paul. Stop taking all the roles. Now, I have already mostly forgotten Jungle Cruise, come to think of it, in much the same way I've swiftly forgot pretty much anything about that there Jumanji reboot, other than a vague memory of it being an enjoyable couple of hours of popcorn-fueled blockbuster entertainment. It's for sure not life-changing cinema, but it's a broadly appealing family action-adventure romp that's worth checking out, certainly if you have your Disney Pluses, and probably worth a trip to the cinema if that is fitting with your risk profiles. Yeah, I like this well enough. As I say, definitely not life-changing, but it's an enjoyable way to spend a couple of hours. Yeah.
You know what? This was fine. I'm never going to watch it again. I am almost certainly never going to think about it again.
Exactly, yeah.
But it was fine, and a lot of that is to do with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, who's, there are two wrestlers who have ever been any good on screen. One of them only managed in one film, and that's largely because of one very famous line in a 10-minute alley fight with Keith David. And the other one is Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's a lot of fun to watch. I love his delivery of those terrible puns. He gets the delivery of those just right, actually. Again, he's not the world's greatest at it by any means, but he plays these strengths quite well. I think he's quite aware of what they are.
Yeah.
And Emily Blunt I like a lot. I don't think she's hugely well served here, but there's enough sort of decent interplay between her and Dwayne Johnson that it kind of papers over all the other stuff quite well, because the other stuff is nonsense. It kind of ruins it, actually. It's, as I said, it's really is trying to recapture that Pirates of the Caribbean success, and it's nowhere near successful. Even goes as far as lifting a good 50% of its plot, at least, from one or more of the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
Yeah. It's very familiar. I don't know how true it is to the ride, I guess, but I don't know if that's an appropriate discussion to have in terms of a film podcast. Yeah.
I've been on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, but I've never been on the Jungle Cruise ride because it's not in the Paris one, but it's Pirates of the Caribbean one had a dog, and the film had a dog, so that's about as close as it got, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got like magical cursed skeletons and stuff and all that other thing. I think, it's very similar. I think it's good, but the other stuff's okay. And I'll admit, Scott, I had my worries about this film because within the first 3 minutes I'd seen both Jack Whitehall and Andy Nyman.
Yes.
And I thought, oh dear God, help. But yeah, actually, Jack Whitehall was not nearly as irritated as I expected.
Yes.
So that's good, I
I mean,
guess.
of course, that's skewed because you expect Whitehall to be the single most irritating person in the world because he normally is. But yes, he's tempered somewhat by the rest of this plot. So yeah,
Yeah, he's kind of likable in this. Actually, I mean, I don't appreciate the Scottish relatives jibe, but he didn't write that, I assume. So I can't really blame him for that. Yeah, it's the big problem I had with him and his character was that at some point he starts talking about how his sister really helped him because he kept getting marriage proposals and his desires lay elsewhere. Just use the damn word gay, Disney.
yeah,
Use it, you.
yeah. This being the second time they've tried this outing, maybe on the third one they'll actually get to say the word gay.
Yes.
They need to work themselves up to it very slowly. Need to ease themselves into it, so to speak.
It's, yeah. I don't know what was going on with Jesse Plemons' accent from the start.
Like, I mean, in other films, you might criticise it for being inaccurate, but I mean, given the kind of film it's in, it sort of works because it's like comical Nazi, hello kind of villain type role. That's fine. I can live with that.
Yeah, it almost feels like it's sort of there too, just to have that really awkward thing later on where he's saying the jungle, but maybe it's more like the chungle. But McGregor's pretending to not understand him. Like, that fell really flat.
Yeah, kind of forced, but
yeah, we do mention Nazis, and that came up while I was watching it too. Like, that part of it felt like it was trying to be Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the greatest action films ever made. You know your place, Jungle Cruise. You can't do this. And also the wrong war for that to work. But yeah, I kind of sort of put that to the side. I was enjoying The Rock more and Emily Blunt. I mean, it does. The sort of irritations that went through it, kind of running stuff, so much worked sort of and some it didn't. There's the fact that The Rock keeps referring to Emily Blunt's character as Pants, which is possibly the worst nickname that's ever been in the history of film. Yes. And it's extremely annoying after the first use, let alone the 20th. And then there's like other bits, like there's a translation joke about when they're in the native village. I guess they are, but they all speak English anyway. But if you sort of think about it at all, that joke only works for the audience. It doesn't actually make sense in this world of the film. So, and I think about these sort of things. So, and then I'll admit I was worried because I was getting quite irritated quite a lot on the film, and Emily Blunt's character kept saying, "Oh my gosh," even like when a German U-boat appears or hanging to her death or potential death over the street. And I hate the phrase, "oh my gosh," with a fiery, burning passion, because it is the most insipid, terrible phrase in the English language. Gosh should be outlawed. Some sort of crime against humanity. The UN should get on that. It's important stuff.
Can't believe you're saying that.
I'm going to slap you as hard as I possibly can. Not even joking, I hate that word so much because it has no impact, has no meaning. And
you must have hated Napoleon Dynamite. Oh my gosh. You must have hated that film.
And
you shouldn't have admitted that, because I'm going to use that. I'm going to deploy that tactic constantly from now on. Gosh, I really am.
Your balls are going to be so sore from the kicking I'm going to get from Scott. No, it's just such an insipid word, and it really bothers me because it's so often employed in films where, like, if that was a real person, they would never say that. And I'm always amazed too, because I very often have on films the Spanish subtitles on. I've done it for a few years now to just just to brush up my Spanish and learn some words. And now I watch them and correct them in my head because I realise where they've mistranslated from English. But it's always translated properly in Spanish to Dios mío. Whenever somebody even says, "oh my God," it's always not as Dios mío, my God, in Spanish. But no, so this was actually a running joke where she was like, getting pushed closer and closer because it suddenly became, "oh my goodness," and then finally when they got to the rapids she went, "oh my God." That was a weird running joke to have.
Yes.
And like a massive U-boat appears and that still gets an "oh my gosh." It was rapids it took you to say "oh my God." How?
Yeah.
But it's like, again, if it wasn't a Disney film, I think they were having a go at that annoying puritanical streak in American society, where violence is fine but swearing's a no-no. But I think it was just sort of a suggestion that our kind of composure was breaking more than anything here. But yeah, it's forgettable. It's fluff, but it was enjoyable, forgettable fluff. I didn't really resent my time with it. It's again how unusual for us to be saying this, Scott. It's overlong,
Yeah.
but it didn't outstay its welcome as much as a lot of films have. It's 2 hours 7 minutes, so it's a good 20 minutes too long at least, and a huge chunk of the cursed skeleton warrior thing could be cut quite happily.
Yeah.
There's a couple of I'm just going to finish a couple of strange musical notes. There's a new rendition done by Metallica of Nothing Else Matters that opens the film and comes up later. That was weird in this kiddie adventure films about a theme park ride.
Yeah, there's a few weird things you find when you're reading up on these films when trying to do your review. One of them being that this has been in gestation for nearly 20 years. Like, really? Like,
That's generally not a good sign.
Like, I think it was something like 2004 was the first thing they were kind of mooted about this kind of thing. There was like early versions that was going to have Tom Hanks and Tim Allen on it or something like that. And yeah, like that's weird. And certainly I don't think that has anything to do with this film, which does not seem like it's had 20 years worth of thought put into it. Another one being that, yeah, that Metallica thing happened. There was some Disney exec saying, we've been looking for a chance to really work with Metallica on something that really combines our brand values. It's like, what brand values do Metallica and Disney have in common? Nothing. What are you talking about? This is nonsense.
They're successful and they like money, so I guess that's it. But its presence didn't bother me, which is good because it's a song I actually particularly like. And it's got, for a couple of reasons, actually a particular sentimental value to me, that song. But it's like, oh, this is a new rendition of Nothing Else Matters. Well, it's there, I guess. Not sure why it opened the film after the Disney castle, but okay. The other musical note is that I have spent a good half hour today on a loop on YouTube listening to a German song called Das Paddleboot, which is what Jesse Plemons and his crew sing at some point in the film. What is that? And I started listening like, this is rubbish yet annoyingly catchy and very, very German. It's like it feels like it should have an Oompa band on it. Although I guess that's more of a Bavarian thing, and I think this is Hamburg style. But yes, Das Paddleboot. Look it up, folks. You'll thank, stroke, hate me later. Don't stroke me later. That would be weird. Just thank or hate me. Yeah, it's not bad.